Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sergeant Alex here, and today we're looking at the Manheim line. I think Wargaming changed to Arctic region over on the console edition, but it's the same map, different name, fresh coat of paint. So what am I going to be doing? Well, I'm going to be covering the basic layout, and there I'll talk briefly about how I play like artillery and tank destroyers, because those two well, artillery is in the back, and tank destroyers I play a little bit more defensively. To me, that's more of these. They're more of a supporting role than a pushing factor. And then I'm going to be going down your lights, heavies, mediums, for both sides of the map in my general strategy and anything I think pertinent. So, big words out of the way. Let's start. We have the map here, and we're going to be using purple as our just general clicky thing, unless I forget to click off of yellow, in which case it's going to be yellow. I do have fun little light up grid squares too, which is very awesome. I am using a website called Start Sketch. You can do briefings and stuff, which is really awesome. I'll link down below to this because it's definitely helped out with me and the few people that I platoon up with. We talk about basic ideas, strategies, and we come up with general crazy nonsense. And actually, one of our crazy nonsensical ideas is actually going to be used. I'm actually going to be talking about it later on in the video. But first thing first, basic layout. This is I realize every match is going to be different. This is going to be the general summarization. It's going to be some combination of this. Okay, your big dumb heavies generally tend to go down, and this is the big heavy brawling area. We have a little no man's land right here, and there's another one in this little area here. Pretty much when you drive out, it's not a lot of cover. You're going to get spotted, which is why they have these nice little dips here. Going on up, we have a nice little hill here, I want to note, and then you have your two tank destroyer spots. Generally, tank destroyers, they have beautiful line of sight all over the map, just from that little spot. Similar story with these. You can get a nice little shots across. And that's generally where I will go if I am in a tank destroyer that has a turret, because you can roll out in and out of cover easily. If you're in a big clunky, something like the turtle would be a good example. It's not the best place to be on a giant hill. If I'm in one of those tank destroyers. Let's go with the south spawn here, so the red guys. Right here is a little hill in the natural chunk of the map. I can actually go behind that, be hull down, get some nice cover, and that gives you beautiful line of sight. Similar story up here. There's plenty of rocks and trees you can kind of hide your tank behind, and you get beautiful line of sight. One I should have added is this spot right here. That's a fun little cheeky spot right here. Oh, I want to be purple. So right there. And again, it's not the best, but you get some line of sight there, you can get some line of sight there, and hopefully get some nice damage numbers. So that's briefly talking about the south spawn. I'll leave that guy out for now. For the north spawn, it's pretty much a similar story. You're just going to be up on this little hill right here, and that's because you get line of sight here, and if you go up to this little cliff face right here, you have line of sight towards the center of the map. You're slowly seeing how the center of the map is Death Valley. Typically you'll find your fast light tanks just zooming around here, and eventually getting blown up by that one person that knows how to lead their shot really well. So, now on to the meat and potatoes. We are going to be starting with the north spawn. Whenever I'm talking about our tank in these scenarios, we're going to be the little yellow guy, and I'm going to add little markers and stuff as we go along. But generally, I employ the same idea every time, because going down north in any shape or form, maybe down here you can survive a little better, just because you have the foliage and rocks and dips and whatnot, give you a little better cover. But I tend to have a bad experience because you just need that one shot from a heavy tank with a big old derp gun. So what I like to do is I'll come up north with the rest of the team, grab this hill, and I'll sit there. I'll get some spots. I'll look around, make sure everything's good. Maybe poke my head into the shrubs on the cliff face here. Poke around there's a little bush over here that you can use to get line of sight. But essentially, from up here, you can see a little bit here. You have a nice. If I click in the right spot, you can see that the little no man's land area. And you can view around that corner, which I'm pretty much looking for that corner, seeing if anything's popping. Because typically baddies, they're going to spawn in, and they're just going to come right around this corner. And that's this area here is usually your first line of engagements, and that's where a lot of the northern battle happens. So we poked on this hill. The next thing I do is, if I have a nice little cheeky fast light tank and I can get across without getting shot, I will zip zop zoobity bop right up onto this hill right here. Now you're gonna have to be very careful. Do not sit in place. There's a couple spots if artillery is really good, they can get you actually, but generally the shells are going right over you. Just realize if we're going to talk about already, so we'll cover this when we're done with the light tank briefing here. So I will be looking, and from here you can view over here if there's anybody hiding here. Usually some of the bushes here, you can see down in this spot and get some shots, which is very helpful. But you want to keep moving. You're doing quick little snapshots. You don't want to sit in place for too long. And then we will. Now the next thing is the exit strategy on this hill. Say they're pushing around the corner. A lot of the time, driving back up there is a bad choice because there's a little hill there that's going to slow you down. You're going to get shot. Getting shot is not the idea. So I will actually just get the speed boost from going downhill and come around here, and I can circle back and try spotting again, or I can actually go down to the north depending on how well things are going. Wow. Go down to the north when we're as north as we can. I am totally thinking today. Go down to the south where hopefully things are progressing a little differently and I can help out there. Or if I want to play my chances with the dip, pop a little right turn, come down into here. You can even go back all the way to the base and scoot around. And then I'll chance my luck by poking her out and getting some cheeky little shots from wherever I can. Light tanks, I use more spotting than shooting. That is it for the northern spawn light. Down to the southern spawn. Southern spawn's a little tricky. There's not a whole hell of a lot you can do. I'm heading up north. I will hide into this little spot that I point out with the tank destroyers. Boop. You're going to be hiding there. And that'll give you some nice little viewing areas. You can hopefully see a little bit into the hill there. Probably not because of the shrubs and foliage. But this is where I have the fun little spot for this one. I use a little bit more of the medium tanks, so we're going to be, I'll talk about it again with the mediums, but I'll come here and hide in the little foliage, get some spots, see if there's anything I can do. If I'm not getting spotted, even after I poke out a cover and get rid of the camo factor and all that from hiding behind a bush, instead of going straight over like that, like 90% of the people do, I will sneak around the corner in this little lip right here. Hang on, right there is enough to hide a tank behind. Not the biggest tanks, but a good medium to small size tank you can hide beautifully there. And from there, I should probably pop my little marker right there. And from there, I can pop up onto the hill, get some good shots. You can kind of see in here. You can definitely see here. Then you can see most of that area. And from there, I will hug the mountain and just kind of slowly edge my way. You get right here where the enemy tanks lack the gun depression. So if they're going to want to come shoot you, they're going to have to come out, and they're either going to poke out, get shot by your team, or come out charge, in which case back up and give them a good sideways. Hopefully you survive. If not, at least you're making the enemy give a nice broadside of that turret or hull or the entire tank, depending on their ability to think and breathe at the same time. And from there, I can either pop up on the hill and continue spotting into the enemy base. Little arrow there. Or I can come down into the map, start helping with some spots for the tanks looking in the center or down into the south. And that is generally the light tank aspect of things. Now, back to the basic layout. I forgot to talk about artillery, and I said I would do that for the light tanks, and I am. Your artillery is going to be pretty much in these spots here. There's some bushes here, there's some foliage here, dips in the terrain up here, and the hard part is getting a line of sights, because especially for the northern spawn, you got that big old rock right there. There's a hill that prevents you from shooting there. Got this one right here. If you're moved in the right place, there, that guy's a little bit of a pain in the butt. And then you have this little L thing going on. So there's a lot of things you have trouble shooting out. You'll actually see last stands from the northern team right here, just because that rock is a natural artillery barrier. When I am playing artillery, what I tend to do I will do the northern spawn first. I like the grassy spots here. Gives you a little bit of cover. You're not going to get spotted and shot. There's a nice little dip in the terrain. Right here is actually a little bit higher. But from here, I have a semi-unobstructed shot into the enemies pushing, especially that little rock right there, and a little bit more on the other side of the hill to shoot there. That downside is if enemies are pushing the cliff, you kind of get stopped right here by that cliff, but before they push, you can probably get one, maybe two shots of them right there. Or if they're not being really smart and they're backing up way too much, you get another shot at them right back there. And that's generally my favorite little arty spot, and it does vary where your team's going, so pay attention to the mini map, why don't you? For the southern spawn, right here is my favorite little spot, pretty much for the same reasons. Line of sight right into enemies poking there. The angle's not really helpful because they're going uphill, but I try and get some shots into that little dip. Definitely helps out. And sometimes, depending on if you're in the right spot, you can get some shots out of that little hill there. But again, you have the two mountains right here in the way. This one and this one. So that is pretty much artillery in a nutshell on this map. It's not the best, but you can certainly do worse. Okay, going on to the medium tanks. Medium tank in the north spawn. Pretty much the similar idea with the light tanks. If I could grab the correct color. Go up to the north, do some fighting up here on the cliff. And then you're just going to come down and push around. Careful on the edge there, because some enemy might regroup here, and this is another little spot they like to hide. Gives them beautiful line of sight to shoot you. But from there, I'm either going to go down into the enemy base. Down into the enemy base. I'm very particular on my hideous arrow drawing abilities. So you can go down to the base. Or another thing you can do is you can come around and hop right into the dip. And the one thing I like about the dip is, one, these tank destroyers can't shoot you, or they can just turn around and derp a shell right into you from here. So if you want to fight tank destroyers, go here. If you don't, you're going to go around them. And actually, I didn't need to draw that arrow yet. But what I like to do is you can come around and you have two little spots you can pop out of to start harassing any resisting enemy tanks that are here. And I like this spot better because you have this little hill here, so you can kind of make the turn around and come for the tank destroyers and make them fight on your terms and you're a little bit closer. Because it's not much, but you know, that's about 100 meters right there. So that's generally my northern approach for the medium tanks. If I have a little bit more of a brawler or a nice sniper I can hide behind the heavies with, I am going to push down and do a little bit more of my heavy tank tactic. My favorite spot is this rock right here. I use it with the heavy tanks because they're a little bit taller and can poke over, but if you have like a Panther 88, a nice tall one, you can definitely shoot over those rocks, get a beautiful hole in most of your turret down position. And from there, if I need to push, I can just pop down into the dip. There's a little entry point there, and I can come up to just fight on that little hill there. If I'm not going to go to that rock, say someone beat me to it, or I don't have a tank that can utilize it properly, I can just come down there and scoop around. And from there, we're going to talk about my love-hate relationship with this area. You can push this little chunk of no man's land. I don't like to. I like to fight here, get rid of any enemies over here that are attacking, and then I'll fall back and take the long way around. Because what normally happens is one friendly tank is going to come out from over here and drive over, get blown up. Everyone's going to freak out like, oh no, my hit points. And they're going to stop and wait. And wait. And wait. And oh, wait, the enemy tank's reloaded. Time to drive out, and then they get blown up, and then we wait. I think you see my point. If it's a tactical push and multiple tanks are going at the same time, that is a lot of metal in the way. There's a lot of hit points. One of you might die, or most of you will just take some little itty bitty damage. But the hard part is getting everyone to push. If you do push, which is if you don't just revert to northern map strategy, if you do push, what I like to do is not be pink. I said I was going to draw in yellow. I like to hug the border here. One thing to note is you are going to probably be harassed by the tank destroyers up here, because big, open, juicy areas. Yeah. So be ready to fight those guys. Follow their tracers, shoot in their general area. That tends to make them fall back or do something stupid that hopefully gives away their position. Or you can actually spot them if they fire. But from here, you have this beautiful rock face you can use as cover, and you can slowly work your way around the cliff into the enemy base for a nice little capture victory if you didn't blow them all up. Let's fix the arrow. In there. And then you can mop it up. And that's northern spawn. Okay, and now time for the southern spawn in the medium tanks. Generally, I don't have a east approach. I go north, because pretty much the same thing with the heavy tanks. I just scroll up behind a rock and just get trade shells until one of us dies, because you're digging in to fight the big dumb heavies that come around this corner, because that's always been the kind of like the unspoken rule on the map. If you go anywhere near this no man's land area, you're either digging in here or over here, and you trade shots forever. This map is definitely one I believe is more won by what happens in the north. If my strategies and stuff aren't pulling that one together. But generally what I do with the medium tank is I will scroll on up, and I'm either going to go into the shrubs here and look, or if I have something a little bit more brawly, beefy, armored, I'm going to pop over to the lip of the map there and play hard over there. So that's where my strategy splits off. And from there, from the shrubs here, I'm playing the light tank strategy. I'm going to swoop on over here and push right in. And same thing, I'm going to fight the corner, and then I'll take the hits and go up over there. If enemy tanks are pushing back, I'm either going to fall back into the dip, or I'm just going to come back and defend from here. So that is one little exit strategy. I tend to kind of fight until I blow up, so exit strategies to me are not the best thing. And from here, once I capture this little cliff, let's put our tank up there because yay, we won. I will either push into the enemy base, or I will swoop down into the little dip and come over here to assist any surviving heavies, is assuming they did not win that flank. And that is my general push for the southern spawn mediums. Now for the heavies. Oh, actually, I almost forgot the goofy little idea that I talked about. There is a couple times where I will go over into no man's land with a medium tank, and that's if I'm doing the world's dumbest play on the planet ever. But the few times that I have employed it, it has been a great distraction, or I somehow survived the onslaught of shells and won. And that is, you just drive around into the corner. There is a little dip here. I believe it is right exactly there. And the one thing I like about this dip is you can slowly ease yourself down to the water's edge, and then it takes a couple minutes, but you're pretty much kind of sneaking your way in and out of the water to get up over onto that chunk of land. It is the most awkward and weirdest flank ever. You will get spotted, but honestly, the enemy tanks, they're either going to have to abandon their position and come back here to shoot you because they lack the gun depression, in which case, digging right here and fight. And hey, they're not on this hill. They can't, that's one or two less enemy tanks for your team to fight. Or they're just going to ignore you until you show up right behind them, in which case it is going to be close quarters combat for tanks. And yeah, then it's just kind of staying the dip in the low ground and work your way into the map. For that little squiggly right there, see the heavy tank in the southern spawn at portion of the video, which will be happening after I do the northern spawn for the heavy tanks. So, little smiley face for hoping that plan works. It has worked a couple of times, but honestly, when I do that, I don't plan on surviving. I'm just doing something incredibly stupid because I'm getting a laugh out of it. Okay, as I have said many, many times before, big dumb heavy area right here. So, what are we driving? A big dumb heavy. So we're gonna come on down here, and as I mentioned earlier, I like to park my tank right behind that rock. See that guy? That guy is actually us. I don't know why I put a green guy there. So that's us. You can go mostly turret down, very hull down, and you get some nice little cheeky sniper shots in nut spots. You can kind of see there, definitely that rock. And I've traded shells with those guys. If they're not spotted, you actually can follow their traces pretty well because there's no bushes, you're seeing exactly where the shell's coming, so estimate accordingly. If I lack a tank that can use that corner or someone beat me to it, I am either going to do one of two things. I'm going to come down here like I did in the medium tank portion. I'll fight that ridge line. I actually kind of like using the Tiger tanks there. It's really weird, I know. But if not, I will hug this wall, make it my waifu, and I will push via the mountain there. And again, if you can avoid this, I'm just going to backtrack, see the northern strategies. If not, I'm just going to push with the team, hug the corner, come over here, work your way around into the enemy base. Keep an eye out for tank destroyers on the hill. And that's pretty much it for the heavy tanks. I tend not to have big complex strategies because if you're winning and pushing forward. If you're losing, you're pulling back to the base because you're losing. You're a heavy tank. You're the equalizer. You're the one helping win the flank, or You're the one doing a terrible job in losing said flank. And now time for the heavy tank, and please keep in mind for the medium here I was just talking about that. So the once I get past that little imaginary line there, that finishes up the medium portion on how to push into the enemy base from the south. Because you're pretty much going to be, if you follow my strategies, you'll be doing it only with heavy tanks. But heavy tanks, as I mentioned before, that rock, or you can sneak around to that rock. What I generally like to do is I'll just zip as fast as I can and get to that rock. So there's 3 little spots depending on how comfortable you are. I don't recommend you do this. I don't recommend you be that guy. You're behind the tank destroyers. We make fun of you online for that. But from there, since this rock right here, you're a lot closer, I will push down into the dip. Or if there's a lack of enemy heavies, I will just stay up here because going up hills is not your best friend. And from there I will fight on, and I'm either going to come around up the dip, or I'm going to come from here, depending on how the battle progresses. Let me connect those 2 points up. That is messing with my OCD, actually. So there we go. Nice little point. In very few circumstances, I will go down this little area because I previously mentioned tank destroyers. It will just turn you into Swiss cheese. So if I'm going down through this little valley here, that means they have no more northern flank, and those tank destroyers have bigger problems than me. But what I like to do, instead of driving straight into the base, if there's no cover, getting yeeted on by whatever artillery's up here, whatever tanks are hiding here, and whatever tank destroyers and probably a heavy are hiding up there, I turn right. I follow the little shrubs here that give you some nice little cover. Hopefully you stay hidden, probably not. But there's some dips and stuff, you can definitely make it harder for the enemy to work for their experience. And from up there you work closer to the base, and that gives you a nice straight line of sight into the enemy team. And then generally happy days, you've won the match. So that is pretty much it. I think I rambled on enough about my strategies and general thought on this map. So if I missed any strategies or want to share your own, definitely comment that down below. I love reading comments, and I'm hoping this will generally help someone out. I mean, if it helps one person out, then mission accomplished. There's one person that's doing a little bit better in the game. If you want to see a different map, definitely comment that down below too, because there's not that many available on World Tanks right now since the Cold War update. So I figured it'd be a nice time to launch straight on into that, and as they release new maps, I'll be adding those to the channel. Other than that, subscribe, because stuff, and hit the like button because that makes me smile. Hit the dislike button if you want to make me frown and cry. Other than that, this is Sergeant Alex, and I do hope you have a nice day. Until next time, bye.